We want to welcome you to the Jolt Restaurant Ops webinar series, 3 Ways to Innovate Digital Operations Around Training and Development, brought to you by Jolt, and with some success stories and case studies from Jersey Mike franchise owners like you. Today, we are broadcasting live from the Silicon Slopes, Utah's most beautiful mountain range, and the epicenter for restaurant tech innovation. I'm Burke Alder, Vice President of Marketing and a Restaurant Operations Strategist at Jolt. We want to give you a warm welcome wherever you are today. This webinar is brought to you by Jolt. Jolt is software available on smartphones and tablets that helps restaurants move from paper to digital operations to achieve team accountability, digital food safety compliance, and boost employee performance. During today's webinar, we will cover the topic, 3 Ways to Innovate Digital Operations Around Training and Development. We will hear case studies and success stories from 3 franchise owners. Today, we're privileged to have with us Josh Barton, who owns Jersey Mike stores in Mesa, Arizona, Blake Carter, who owns Jersey Mike stores in Mansfield, Texas, and Brett Lewis, who also owns Jersey Mike's franchise stores in Utah. So we're really appreciated to have these 3 here to help us share best practices on how you can innovate your digital operations around training and development. We appreciate you joining us today. Today we're going to be talking and collaborating around this awesome topic, how you innovate your digital operations around training and development. We also will be recording this webinar, and we will send to you later so you can actually capture these best practices and the screen that we're broadcasting from to help you take these best practices, these concepts, and put them in your store as soon as today. So we're really excited to get started on this topic, 3 ways to innovate digital operations around training and development. One of the focuses that I've talked to Josh, who's on the call today with us, and I talked to Brett Lewis. The heart, they kind of tell me, and I've seen this as I participate with Jersey Mike's in the stores, is the training and development. The power of this, as you are focusing on training and development in your stores, it kind of has some really powerful outcomes. Building leadership, that leadership in the stores, whether it's the crew or the managers, really helps to drive this powerful customer experience, which we know a powerful customer experience drives increased revenue. And even as you decrease some of your costs by being more efficient with your resources, overall, it helps you increase your store profitability. And number 3, as you do all of that, it helps improve communities, which is one of the things that we're actually really excited about, to be working closely with Jersey Mike's on this concept, which is how do we improve the people in our stores to really make a difference in the community where we live. And as we make a difference in the communities, we definitely reach out and make a difference in the world, which is at the heart of Jolt, and I know that's at the heart of Jersey Mike's. Today, we're going to be talking about these 3 innovative operations, digital operations, that you can use to enhance your training and development. First, we'll talk about daily digital checklists. Then we'll cover the success stories and topics around digital food safety. And we'll move to our final discussion point, which will be around digital employee scheduling. How do we have the right people at the right moment with the right skills in the store? As we get started, many people have kind of 2 scenarios. They maybe have all these different things and tools they've got in place. They've got their checklists on clipboards. They may even have their checklists in binders. They may even have their training programs in binders or even folders. You might be manually labeling your food with red dots, and you might have an Excel file that you're using to make sure you have a weekly shift, and you're trying to optimize costs of having the right people at the right store. So a lot of times we see this before, but there really is this new vision of innovation, which helps drive training and accountability, which is putting all of what we see on the left inside a simple tablet that's really built to help facilitate visibility and accessibility to the employees, to the owners, wherever you are, So you take these same things on the left and you put them inside of a solution like we're looking at, which is Jolt, where you see schedules, you'll see lists, and we'll talk about this. You'll see a library for training. You'll see labeling, you'll see sensors. It gives you all the assets you need to build an awesome digital operations unit that drives training and accountability. So let's get started today with daily digital checklists. And let me kind of show an example of this from a Jersey Mike's store. So as you can see here on the left, I have a few lists that are due today. I have my bread checklist, I have a daily cleaning checklist, and I even have some prep and bar levels. On the right, just after those lists, when I dive into a list, I can see the actions that are due. And what's so cool about this, as my employee logs in, which Allison Gomez is logged in right now, and as she's completing tasks, you could actually see that timestamp by name and time. And even she can come down and take a picture once she's actually cleaned that bread rack. You know, we know everything's good to go. So not only are you getting visibility on things that are getting done, you could actually verify the quality through photos. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of putting your daily checklist inside of a digital tool like Jolt inside of a tablet. The first best practice and kind of benefit is consolidating all these checklists in one place. That simple innovation makes it easy to train and develop employees, whether you're onboarding a new employee, whether you're trying to focus on driving new process or a new focus with your team. It really helps you consolidate those into one place. So they're not stuck on, behind in the back room. It's right in front of you. You can access these checklist results, since they're digital, from anywhere, from a mobile phone, from your desktop. You can get alerts. There's also audible reminders for your staff. Hey, it's time to start this checklist, and this checklist is due on a certain day. It also keeps your staff focused on what's important. And that's a key importance when we think about some of the principles of training and development, is how do we keep our staff focused maybe on like something that's came down from the corporate offices or something that we really want to drive because it's driving revenue in our business. Another key component is having that time stamped by name and the employee, so you can really help drive recognition. I think that's a big part of how do we create good cultures and leadership and training and development is recognizing when people are performing with those specific tasks. Some tasks like clean the bathroom are not our favorite tasks, but if I can get recognition, I might do my best job at, and wow, for the first time ever, I've never been recognized publicly for how clean I keep the bathroom, or it could even be the grill, whatever we're looking at. As we take one of the other benefits of this, like I said earlier, around visibility, as a franchise owner, when you have multiple locations, or even you're not in the store all the time, to be able to see the visibility of what's going on, who's completing all my checklists. In the paper world, it's actually really difficult to do this. But with technology, you can actually see by store, like we're looking right here, I can see that Elm Street has been getting a few of these like checklists done behind, or they're not completing. So I know of all the stores I can focus on, I might spend some extra time with Elm Street. And as I spend more time with Elm Street, I can really make the impacts to help drive the overall performance of that store. So let me bring on some of the experts who are just like you. We've got Josh, Brett, and the team, and Blake, and we'll talk about. Let me start with Josh here on what was the world like before a digital checklist in some of your stores?
So before the digital checklist, we were using, like you described, binders, clipboards, a lot of paperwork type stuff. And, I think the thing that jumped out at me on your what you were explaining was keeping us focused on what's most important. And that's the Jersey Mike's, our customer experience is the most important thing. And the beauty of being a part of Jersey Mike's or any franchise, Jersey Mike's does a great job. They really spell out what are the key components to keeping us focused so that we can enhance customer experience. And everything that's important is on these checklists. So when we're able to centralize and streamline all this information that, at the touch of a button, we're able to really monitor the excellence and the quality that we want to serve our customers. And so, it's just allowed us to really see the accountability and the, this making sure everything's on point.
Nice, that's great. And when it comes to training and development, how do you think it enhances your employees or the performance of the employee when it comes specifically to training and development?
I think it's just making clear expectations. Poor explanation is the blueprint for disappointment. When we're really giving clear expectations as to what needs to be done every day and making it very clear for everybody, even as a new hire, they walk in and they just see the lists. It's all in front of them. It's clear, it's concise, and they know, hey, if we have what we call a midday checklist. I just looked at one of my stores. I have 34 out of 34 on my opening checklist, 15 out of 17 on my midday. I can see what was done, what wasn't. So it gives me the ability to just centralize. You have multiple stores, or you're planning to do multiple stores, you're going to set yourself up for, like you said, being able to see everything at once, where with paper, you're just not going to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, you bring up some really cool points on just driving right off the start. Like, these are our expectations. This is what we do. This is how we drive results. I think a lot of the times to change behavior, you have to change the way we do things. So I appreciate you sharing some of those insights into that. Let's bring on Brett here, Brett Lewis from Utah, and to talk a little bit about, he's been growing, open up quite a few stores. How has Jolt's digital checklist helped you drive accountability across many stores?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when I come into a store is I'm looking at, how is last night's close? How did we, do in the open? Where are we at with it all? The nice thing about Jolt is I'm able to look at that stuff the night before, or, see how when they're finishing all their tasks. And what it does, it makes me more efficient when I come into the store to be able to spend my time doing other things when I come in, instead of, figuring out, okay, well, where are we at with the open and these other tasks. But, I think that helps out a ton with, creating a little bit more of accountability, because we set it up with pictures. So, let's say, for example, we've been struggling with certain tasks, at nighttime. I'm sure everybody's had that issue where we're like, okay, we got to, do a better sweep, or, we got to make sure we're cleaning the Pepsi machine a little bit better. So the nice thing is we can now have it set up to where we take pictures of certain tasks that you want to be able to take a little, put a little bit more of a microscope under and be able to create a little bit better of accountability on it. So.
I think using Jolt to drive those key components like you mentioned is awesome. I know you had said this, Brett. You said before you had to almost be at every store, and now with the digital checklist innovation, like you said, at night you're looking at, wow, this is done, this is done. I think Josh even mentioned that he was able to see, even on this webinar, he's able to look and go, hey, this store is here, that store is there. And I love this concept where you're able to go into a store instead of just focusing on if they got that done, but focusing on building a relationship, helping them improve. I think you had mentioned it in something earlier. We talked about even maybe spending more time building sandwiches with them, showing that you can roll up your sleeves is really cool. So I appreciate those thoughts. Any other thought you would have around a best practice you found in using digital checklists for training and development?
Are you talking to me still?
Oh yeah. Any of the panelists on that question so far?
Josh, you want to take that, or
I think it's just I think Brett alluded to it earlier too, that if you streamline some of these processes, you have more time to invest in connecting with your people and your customers. And if you're kind of chasing your tail around some of these basics of getting these things done, they're very essential things. They're very important, not to be overlooked, but ultimately we want to maximize our time with our customers and our people.
That's great. Great thought. So let's move on to the second way to innovate operations around training. We talked about the accountability and the digital side of checklists. Now we're going to digital food safety. From a high level, this innovation around training and development is how do I ensure fresh food and safe food? And there's a lot of procedures and processes you have in place to ensure the food is fresh. You can taste it when you eat the sandwich, and then the safe, you know that it's going to be safe. And so when we're first going to talk about this, we're going to talk about the innovation around labeling. When I showed earlier, a few slides back, a lot of us are using red dots, and we're having to handwrite labels. Having this on a tablet, it makes it really nice. You have preloaded ingredients. Like here, we're looking at pastrami. I just pushed the little button around pastrami, and then boom, it auto calculates when it's gone bad. It tells me what time I printed this, and so you can see right there, Saturday, it goes bad in 3 days. So I'm able to do very quickly. I can prep a store. I can make sure that everything's ready to go on the line with a matter of a few clicks versus handwriting with my hand with the old process. So, and we'll talk about this with the panel about how they're using this solution to drive training and development. But before we get to them, I want to talk about some of these benefits, because it does, when you want to really onboard a new employee, or you want to just streamline your processes by just clicking, not having to memorize all the ingredients or handwriting, you're going to streamline your training and development. You're also going to reduce human error. It helps increase speed and productivity. So I might have to have less time or less like labor costs to actually generate and prep for the day. It is easy to prep an entire store. I know I was talking to, I think it's Blake, and Blake Carter, who on the webinar, and he talks a lot about the last thing is you want is a food safety issue. So he loves the labeling that helps him really quickly verify and make sure that everything is fresh and safe. This also helps reduce food waste. I know it's probably like a basic thing, but I think that's really huge. If I'm throwing less food away, if I'm optimizing, I'm really helping drive money to the bottom line. And then ensuring fresh and safe food, that's the outcome, I think, of this nice labeling system. Let me bring on and start with Josh here, talking about digital food labeling, how it's helped you with your training and development. But what did life look like before a digital food labeling solution for you, Josh?
Yeah, when we switched over to digital food labeling, there's no way we could ever consider going back to what we were doing. We were using day dots, taking Sharpies and writing out, weights and dates, and it was hard to read a lot of times. There was human error. But this is one of those things. It's just so streamlined. It's so simple. It's so clear. And we've had, corporate people come in our stores, regional vice presidents, area directors, vice president of operations at Jersey Mike's, and all of them look at this digital labeling, and they've all been just really impressed. Wanted to know what it was, where we could get it, and it's just because it's just so clear and concise. It saves time. It increases accountability. And it allows a lot of your managers to focus on other things like development, marketing, just anything that streamlines any processes. I'm all for it. And then keeping track of food inventory, and then most importantly, just producing a great fresh product, knowing what can be served, what's past time stamped, and what not to use and what to use, and it's just great all the way up, through and through.
Yeah, in a previous conversation I had with you, you had talked about how it's made you faster even when the truck comes to get everything labeled from truck to store. Is there something that?
Yeah, the truck always comes. The truck can come at a time where you're slammed, and you want to focus on your customers, but you got to get that stuff put away and do what you have to do there, and it sometimes can get overwhelming. And anything to speed that up and make it more concise and streamlined is a real asset to you in your store. Get back to making subs.
Yeah, that's great. Let me jump over to Brett real quick and talk to him about some of the benefits he sees on this digital food labeling. He's seen what was the world like before, Brett, and how are you more effective on your training and development with digital food labeling?
Yeah, I think that we'll deal when you get the labeling. I think we're all going to deal with a happier employee, which is really important. Just like Josh was saying before, when you get that Cisco truck coming in at 70 boxes, instead of having to label everything individually, you're just printing them off and stickering everything. And so I think that's a huge advantage to having the labeling system. It speeds things up. It speeds your opens up. I know a lot of my employees also have used it for other labeling things to organize the store, which is really nice. Put placement, so when you are putting Cisco away or when you do have a food safety audit, they come in, the store looks really good. I think that the evaluation or your audit goes a lot smoother when somebody sees that your store is definitely organized. But with the training aspect, the nice part about it is I know that a lot of our employees that we have in our stores, they don't know, they're constantly having to go back and look at when things expire, and look them up. And this saves a lot of time also, because once you print it, the expiration dates are already on there. There's no mistakes. There's no way you can have that information on there incorrectly. I know from before when we were doing day dots, I would have to go back and look and sit there and say, well, no, this really expires this day, or you know what I mean? So there's a lot of benefits to the label maker. And I think that your employees actually, that's their favorite part about the system, to be honest with you. It makes their life a lot easier.
Yeah, so they're quicker and faster, so they can take care of that experience. That's one of the hearts of what I love to hear is how we empower and train our employees, and then how that impacts the customer experience is just, I think those two things go hand in hand. So I appreciate those thoughts. Let me move on to another topic around this innovation where you take sensors. Now these are really simple little hubs that you can put in freezers, and then you have this hub, and then it kicks out this sensor reading, which you can go through. And right here, what I'm looking at inside of the sensors is I'm looking at my Pepsi cooler, my walk-in fridge, my sandwich unit number 1, my meat cooler, walk-in freezer. I can actually see the temperatures, and that's nice. But also, if any of these temperatures drop, for example, if I'm looking at my bread proofer, and this not only measures just the temperature, it actually measures humidity. So you can make sure you have the perfect, combination that makes the best bread. But here I'm getting an alert that says, hey, the bread proofer at this location has been below 80 degrees for 32 minutes. So I'm also getting insights into making sure that I have data to back, well, we got to tweak that. We got to make sure that's different. Some inventory, if it goes bad overnight, like if you didn't get an alert on your phone, you could actually lose an entire stock of food. So that makes it also a little different. When we look at some of the benefits of using these temperatures to monitor your food, it doesn't require manual measurements. I've gone into a few just stores that are kind of getting used to getting ready for this digital movement, and you'll see them kind of going and tracking off of thermometers, whether it be digital or even just manual. You can also monitor temperature and humidity, and even stores your 30, 60-day report. So like when those people come in and you're wanting to give an audit of, hey, what's been the temperature in this digital temperature monitoring gives you all the data you need right at your fingertips. And it can be checked from anywhere. So if you're traveling from one store to the other, or you're just maybe at your house and the day's been over and you're relaxing with, and getting ready for the next day, you can check, oh, cool, all my stores are A-okay. And if you did get an alert, it sends you texts and notifications. So let's bring the panelists on to talk a little bit more about the benefits of digital temperature monitoring.
Yeah, from before we were using, I know the one thing that we've seen the biggest improvement on is our bread quality. We were using those hydrometers to calculate the humidity within the proofer. And I know that over time, if those things kind of get fogged up, it's kind of hard to see, you know, people stop looking at them as much. So when we put the sensors in, it was really interesting because we were able to see the data from our bread, and we started to realize the humidity that we were baking bread at was at like 65% humidity was the max we were able to get it up to, which we all know we're supposed to bake them at 85 to 95%. So I thought it was really, you know, really good information for us to have. So then we had to make some of our adjustments to be able to get our bread to 85 to 95. We had to turn it up a little bit more than we're normally used to, but it was really useful in that aspect. And then obviously now with having it set up to where if any of your product goes out of range within your freezer or your walk-in, it'll send you a text message. I know in the past I've actually had product go bad over the night. So now we have, you know, safeguards in place that if something were to happen, it would shoot me a text message to be able to get aware so I can get somebody out to fix it. So.
Yeah, those insights, I think one last thing, I think a lot of times we hear people use the word peace of mind. They have everything really in place, rolling. So if there is a notification, but I love your example of the bread, how you're able to drive really strong quality of bread through tracking the sensor sides. So, and what's been really neat about the essence of Jolt, Jolt was developed from a franchise owner like you. Our CEO was like you. He wanted to make sure he could keep things accountable. He actually I think it was December 31st, it was right before the new year, he was at his house for the night. He had locked up his store. It was an ice cream parlor, and a freezer went bad. So he woke up on New Year's Day and he had lost $7,000 worth of ice cream. So he at that moment, it was like he said, we got to figure out how we can help franchisees know what's going on when they're even not at the stores. And that's when he developed Jolt, which is this really system for team accountability. We're talking about digital food safety right now, and even employee training and development is the heart of Jolt, built by someone who is like you and who wants to make sure the employees are having this best experience. So let's move on to our last point around innovation of training and development, which is employee scheduling. And we're going to talk a lot about this principle because having the right skills at the right time, with Josh, he'll even explain a story of how it helped him save 3% in his labor costs. Well, let me show you really how simple this is. With Jolt and your digital employee scheduling, we make it really easy for the managers to create shifts, for the employees to shift and swap their shifts. You can actually see who's going to be there. You can make sure you have the right skills by role, so you're having the right employees at the right time. So this is a really pretty easy application from the digital employee scheduling side. Some of the benefits of digital scheduling lies around some of these key points I have listed here. The goal really is to optimize labor and have the optimal employees in for that day. Maybe it's for the cells that I've seen last week on a Tuesday. This is another Tuesday. So how do I optimize my schedule to have those right employees at the right time? As I'm trying to train and onboard somebody, it's also nice to know, hey, this person is in this phase of training, so I should actually have this person maybe overlap an hour to make sure that that handoff is smooth. And if there's any questions, they can really help them during that time. We also make it easy through this digital employee scheduling to simplify employee shift management. Who's there? And then also having visibility into who is actually shifting, maybe swapping. So if someone swaps and now you don't have the right people there, you at least know, and maybe even can quickly say, hey, I know you just wanted to move your shift, but actually I need you there for this to make sure we have the right coverage. Josh will talk about this benefit of decreasing labor costs by 3%. We've talked about having the right skills at the right time. And then one of the beauties of this is real-time shift visibility. Now, as I transition to the team to talk about this from a panel perspective, another thing that's interesting about a digital tool like Jolt that's on a tablet is sometimes there is spotty Wi-Fi, and there's times when we need this, we've completed work, whether it be sensors are getting checked, or even I have a spotty connection and we've done all this work. With Jolt, it actually works offline. So any work that's done during a poor Wi-Fi connection is actually still being tracked on the native iPad app or even an Android app, and it allows you to not miss any information. There are some digital solutions that can not work offline, but Jolt gives you that potential to work when Wi-Fi is spotty, which I think is a key point to share if you're thinking about or you're using a digital operations solution. So let's talk a little bit about employee scheduling with Josh. Josh, walk us through a little bit of how you're using digital employee scheduling to improve your store's training and development.
You bet. Yeah, we opened our first store 2 years ago, and we had a real massive grand opening. And when we first started, we were given a spreadsheet that wasn't as, you couldn't visibly see exactly how all the pieces came together. And I think we kind of operated in chaos for about 3 months until, you know, the grand opening kind of settled out and the dust settled, and we were able to kind of really see, you know, our needs operationally, mainly to serve the customer and give a great customer experience. But then as we started to realize, you know, there's so much more, making your schedule is a plan that you want to execute to the T, you know, trying to get your operational needs met. Like they say, put your aces in the places, people with the right skills, and also those people that can develop others. So we have to, you have to actually, you know, there's a lot of numbers and tracking your costs through this scheduling software, and allows you to kind of see how much time you are investing in a little extra training, or also a little bit of marketing, you know, allotting time for some of your managers to get out and invite people in the community to your restaurant. So you have to be able to take all these things that you're balanced. If you focus on any one of these things, you're going to lack in another. So this allows you to really balance all of the operational needs, customer service, profitability, training, development, and marketing into just this very visible, user-friendly software that I've actually trained, I think we've trained 8 certified leads on the software, and it's very, very impressive how quickly they can get a hold of it, understand it, and start to really understand the business side. And because, you know, we were able to, in 2019, shave 2.9% of our hourly labor costs through being able to really pinpoint our needs. And we've also been able to certify through the Jersey Mike system 8 people from the same store in the process, while shaving costs and improving development and service. So
let me really talk about this last, maybe this is the 4th one, maybe surprise innovation, but it's around a digital training library that allows you to put all of your collateral, and like this can be corporate collateral, this can be training collateral, this is videos you've built, best practices. And you really, as you can see here in this nice little green circle, it puts it at your fingertips. What's really nice with Jolt is you take those digital checklists and you can actually then link them to components in this library. So you can build literally onboarding for managers, new employees, and you can have them follow and watch videos, and that checks off when the video is done. And here's kind of an example of a few videos that we've just pulled, like grill cleaning. Maybe they need to get certified on grill cleaning, and boom, they watch a quick little video. You have them ask them a few questions, and then you help them move on to even sorting tomatoes. And over here on the right, I'm looking at the flow of food, maybe a section from the manual that I want them to read. Not only read it and check that off, but actually I'm going to ask them a few questions and make sure they're good. So we put this digital library right at their fingertips, which really helps people onboard new employees quicker, deliver consistent training and knowledge. We've talked about how it increases training and development. And then if you've ever thought, hey, how do I distribute this to all my locations, or even a few locations really quickly? With Jolt, you literally in one click put it in the library. You can reference it. boom, it distributes it very quickly, which helps you then streamline store communication and focus. So today we covered that fourth little example of putting employee training inside of the daily digital checklists and how that helps you with improve your training development all around this concept of digital operations. So we've talked about that. We've talked about digital food safety from labeling to sensors. We've talked about employee scheduling. So there's this nice suite all on one app and one tablet that can work offline or online that really helps you drive training and development. So let me turn this over to kind of our last couple of summary moment where we have a few questions I want to ask. If you are still on the webinar and you have a few questions, you can actually go to the very right-hand side and just type in a question. And here's the first question I have for, let's start with Brett. What is one of of these innovations we've talked about today that you really can't live without? If I were to say I'm going to take it away from you, you'd say, hey, you got to stop.
I like the best part about it is the accountability piece at any time during the day. So, you're able to look at any store at any given moment to be able to see where they're at. When having a few stores, you can't be in every store at the same time. And so sometimes, it's nice to be able to get on and be able to see where they're at. And then have pictures to be able to back it up. Be like, okay, it's that kind of reassurance that you were talking about earlier, the peace of mind. It is nice to have that feature, be able to do the follow-up and make sure that the store's running as smooth as it can be.
Yeah, that's a great thought. And you bring up the concept of pictures. How you ensured, or what's some best practice you've used on helping people take the right photo?
Yeah, I like to get my managers involved. A lot of times, they're in the same boat as me. They want to get better. They want to improve. And there's little aspects of closes and opens that they want to improve on. And so, during our manager meeting, we open it up and each one of them gets to pick a different picture that they want to place within the checklist. And that's what's really nice is it's really easy to add and remove different items that you want to have within the checklist. And so on a week-to-week basis, we'll add in new pictures that they want to focus and really work on. And so when they buy into the concept and say, hey, we want to improve this aspect, you tend to get better results, So I think that's worked well for me.
That's great. I appreciate that. Josh, back to you on something if we said, hey, if you took this away, I really couldn't run my business as effectively. What would that be?
I can make an argument for any of these digital systems. Actually, I'm not thinking about it, but the one that I think jumps out the most to me is the scheduling tool. Our biggest costs, we have to manage our labor and our food costs, and being able to properly manage those are fundamental to our profitability, our growth. But there's just so many things. Like I said, you can't just focus on one thing. You have to focus on everything simultaneously, and you don't want to settle for anything. So I think these checklists, these labeling and the scheduling, all three of them combined really allow you to achieve that balance and just be excellent at all things.
That's great. I just had someone reach out on the chat. How hard is this to implement? Is it months? Is it how quickly, how easy was this to get your team bought in? Maybe let's start with Brett and then we can move to Josh. And is there any best practices you use to make sure you streamline bringing on this digital solution like Jolt?
Yeah, the best part about signing up with Jolt is they took my personal checklist that I already had and just imported them in. And so when we went through and we did the digital checklist, they were very familiar with what our checklists were from before. And what we were able to do is just put it in a digital form, which they understand really well. Any of these kids, they have, iPhones and iPads and all that. So it's second nature for them to pick it up, and instead of having it in, paper form, they had it in digital form. So to be honest with you, it wasn't really tough at all. So.
Cool. Maybe the same question to you, Josh, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah,
There's
you know,
no other
similar
questions. Yeah.
similar experience. I think our, you know, the demographic of the employee at Jersey Mike's is a younger, very tech savvy type of demographic, and you know, they pick it up really fast. Learning curve is easy, and then as far as a franchisee being able to get all the important data to these checklists is very easy. Submit your existing checklists, and it's a very smooth process.
Awesome. Well, I think, you know, we're out of time, and I appreciate the concepts and messages from Josh and Blake and Brett. We really appreciate you being here. I also wanted to give a thank you to Shayla and McKinney. She helped us bring everyone together. One of the things we believe in, like you do, is how do we build this community of really training and development? How do we train the future leaders who then have an impact on their communities with their families, and we really make this world a better place. So thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We'll make sure that we get it over to you so you can review this, and you can really put some of these simple best practices in place at your Jersey Mike's. So thank you for joining us for 3 ways to innovate digital operations around training and development. Until next time, happy holidays, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.